Hello and welcome to Mr. C's presentation on number stories and word problems. Today we're only going to be talking about addition and subtraction. With number stories, you can really incorporate, that means bring in any concept from math. But today we're going to start out simple. We're going to start out with addition and subtraction. And when you think about it, I want you to remember the number one thing in math, when we're talking about word problems, is to read. I know, reading and math coming together, kind of freaky, but it's very important. Okay, let's go ahead and ask the question. Why is this important? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons that it's important, but really the one that I want you to remember more than anything else is word problems are math in real life. Okay? I mean, whenever you read a word problem in your workbook, or whenever you're reading it on a test, really, those are questions and problems that you could come upon in real life. So if you can solve word problems, that helps you to use math for yourself when you're at the store, or when you're at home, or when you're, trying to figure something out with money. That's all word problems. So come on, let's dive right in. We're going to start. There are two things that you have to remember when you're solving number stories and word problems. The first thing, reading is crucial. It's important. Super, super important. Now, a lot of times, when you're getting ready for tests, your teacher, will sit down the whole class and be like, guys, you have to read each problem 3 times before you answer it. They're not telling you that because they want you to go through and mindlessly read. That's not the point. The point of reading a problem over and over again is probably because you're 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11, 12 years old. You have to read and understand what you're reading, okay? You have to understand it. If you don't understand what you're reading, you can't solve it, period, okay? So they're not telling you to read it 3 times just so that to give you busy work again and again. They're telling you to read it 3 times because they think if you read it a second time or a third time, you're going to understand what you're reading. But if you understand it the first time, well, technically you wouldn't have to read it again, okay? So read it slowly, dissect the words, and make sure that you understand what you're reading. Okay, the second thing is to find useful vocabulary. So a lot of times when the word problem, when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in this word problem, am I going to add? Am I going to subtract? Am I going to multiply? Am I going to divide? There are certain words where if you see them, chances are you're going to do one of those 4 different computations. Okay? So we're going to take a look at a word problem right now, and I'm going to help you to understand what those 2 steps or what those 2 little hints really mean when you take it inside of an actual word problem. So let's go ahead and read this one. All right. Mr. C drank 6 gallons of coffee with breakfast. At lunch, he drank 7 more gallons of coffee. How many gallons did he drink in all? Now, I want you to close your eyes before you even think about this. Go ahead, close them. Don't read that. Close your eyes. I said close them. Close your eyes and listen while I read this problem one way and then while I read it another way. Mr. C drank 6 gallons of coffee with breakfast. At lunch, he drank 7 more gallons of coffee. How many gallons did he drink in all? Do you have any idea what I just read? I read it, every word, perfectly. But I didn't read it well. I didn't put inflection on the words. I didn't think about the words as I read them. Okay, listen to me read it this time. Mr. C drank 6 gallons of coffee with breakfast. At lunch, he drank 7 more gallons of coffee. How many gallons did he drink in all? Did that sound better? Yeah, it sounded better. Did it sound like I understood it while I was reading it? Of course. You have to do the same thing. Now, if you have to read it a couple of times, some of us are very good readers, and we can understand what we're reading the first time. Some of us are not. So to go back and read it again and really, think about the words, think about the sentences, put them together the right way, and read them so that it sounds good is important to help us understand. Now, there are a few more things in here. I want you to look, okay? So we read it. We kind of understood it. Let's go back and look at some of the important words. Okay, he drank 6 gallons. Okay, so we know we're dealing with gallons, right? And there's 6 of them. All right, at lunch, he drank 7 more gallons. So we're still dealing with 7, but look at this word more. Okay? That's going to help us to decide what computation we're using here. Okay? And then finally it says, here's the real question that we have to answer. They usually come at the end. How many gallons did he drink in all? Okay? Ooh, interesting. Okay, so look, we've got 6 gallons, right, that I started with, and then 7 more gallons. What do you think I'm going to do with these two numbers based on this vocabulary? Well, it wants us to know how much I drank in all. Take a guess. If you said addition, you are correct. What's 7 plus 6? You should know that by now. Put down the 3, carry the 1, drop down the 1. 13. 6 plus 7 is 13. So the answer is Mr. C drank 13 gallons. That's the answer. Okay, I read it carefully. I went back, I found some key vocabulary so that I knew what to do. Okay, the vocabulary here, more and in all, helped me to understand, hey, I'm going to be adding here. So I took my two numbers, I added them together, and I got an answer. You guys think you can do this? I'm going to give you a little chart. Okay, when I change this screen, I want you to pause this. I want you to open up your notebook, get a piece of paper, a whiteboard, something you're going to be able to hold on to for a while, okay? And I want you to write down this chart that I'm about to post. Okay, here we go. These are helpful words. Let's start out with addition. So if you see these words in number stories, you're probably going to be adding. Here's the first one. In all. Ooh, that's one we just saw. Together. Combine. Combine means really to put together. It's just a different vocab word. Total. Sum. Let's see if there's any more. And got. Okay, sum is spelled, it's not like, hey, give me some cookies. All right, that's S-O-M-E. I'll write that down for you. Okay. That is not the sum that we're talking about. Sum here really means to add together. So if you've never heard that word before, that's what it means. So all of these words in this list, if you see them in a word problem, chances are, most times, you're going to be adding. Okay? So let's take a look at some subtraction words. All right, here's one. Difference. Difference is the most important. Okay? Your teacher can even give you two numbers and say, what's the difference of these two numbers? That is always subtraction. Okay, difference, I'm even going to circle it. Let's circle it in blue. Difference is a very important subtraction word. When you see the word difference, I can't even think of a time where you're not going to be using subtraction. Difference and subtraction are really synonymous. That means that they're the same. Okay, how about lost? Oh, he had $10. He lost $3. Subtraction. Okay. More or less. Now, this one gets kind of tricky because sometimes you're not going to use subtraction with these, but a lot of times you are. Okay. Mr. C had $30. John had 3 less than he did. How much money does John have? Well, 30 minus 3. John has $27. Okay. Dealing with subtraction there. Left. Okay. Mr. C had 30 donuts. Then he ate 15. How many does he have left? Okay, subtraction. Let's see, I think we got one more here. And take. Okay, let's see. John, I'll use John again. John had 15 kittens. His brother took, that's another word for take, 5. How many does he have now? Take, subtraction. Okay, so write these words down, make a little chart. If you can think of some other words that belong in these two lists, add them to your list. They can only help you. Use this list. If you're doing a word problem and you have access to a computer, come check out this video if you're having a hard time and see if one of these words is in there. Okay? All right, cool. Let's go ahead and rehash what we learned. Well, the first thing we learned, reading well is crucial. I mean, so important when you're solving number stories and word problems. If you don't read it well, you're not really going to understand what you're reading. You have to understand what you're reading to figure out the math problem that's hidden inside. All right. And secondly, finding important vocabulary can help you to solve word problems. Okay. You got to look inside. Sometimes they're hard to find. Sometimes you have to be creative. But there is vocabulary in word problems that's going to help you to solve it. You think you can do it? Then let's try it. All right, here's a word problem that I want you to solve. When you finish, show your teacher or your mom or your brother or your sister or whoever you got to show. Okay, here we go. It's a big and scary word problem. Mr. C and Lucy want to buy an Xbox that costs $300. Lucy's my daughter. Okay, so we want to buy an Xbox that costs $300. Lucy has $176 in her piggy bank, and Mr. C has $115 in his wallet. I'm going to stop reading there because I want you to read the rest. Make sure you read it well. See if you can find some key vocabulary that's going to help you to solve this problem. All right? Good luck, and good luck solving word problems.